Morning, everyone. How are you? It's a beautiful morning here at the beach. If you look behind me, that's the UCSB campus. But what I want to show you, spin out, that would be the Pacific Ocean here, swinging across to the little dock behind me. And you may know this place where I am. And that is, if you walk from the campus or bike, you could get to this beach. And if you continue along the beach, you'd go underneath of that pier. And then it would be kind of hard going at that point on. And I'm going to talk about that for a moment as sort of a segue into the documentary we're watching this week, which is Capital in the 21st Century. At anything but a very low tide, you'd be basically stopped there, and it's just the geographic configuration of the place. And it makes it impossible, pretty much, to get access to that beach. If you're a surfer, you can do it, but by going out into the water, of course. But what's interesting is there's a community there known as Hope Ranch. And all the beaches in California are public, so no one can deny you access to a beach. And that's absolutely wonderful. And it's sort of the very egalitarian, democratic nature of California that we would do that. And yet, all across California, there are beaches that have been effectively privatized. And right here, you can literally see it from the UCSB campus as an example. The community there, Hope Ranch, consists of all million-dollar, in most cases, multi-million-dollar homes. And because you cannot walk to the beach very easily here, they've effectively blocked off access to that beach. If you drive into Hope Ranch, it's not a gated community you can drive in, you'll see signs that say private beach, basically go away, you're not allowed to have access to the beach. How do they do that? Well, it's the geography where you can't walk to it, but also all of these millionaires have banded together and have acting as a unit saying, we're not going to let anyone go through our property to get access to that beach. We have effectively converted this beach to a private beach, even though the laws of California say such a thing is impossible. And you run into the other thing, if you were to go all the way around the other side of that area, which is the Mesa, you would also have trouble walking to the beach there. So they've effectively privatized one of the most beautiful stretches of California beaches. So what's that have to do with the talk today? Well, the documentary today. Well, a little bit. In that we're watching this documentary, and that is Capital in the 21st Century, which is based on a very famous best-selling book by a very bright French economist. And you may have noticed we keep bumping into economics in this issue of climate crisis. And Kim Stanley Robinson really foregrounded that very well with the idea of carbon tax and carbon coin and his discussions of economics more generally. And this may have occurred to you so far as, capitalism is an issue here. If you've been in my other classes, especially English 24, where we talked about we saw films like, for example, The True Cost, and the way that labor is exploited across the planet, that there's this great disparity of wealth, and wealthy individuals are obviously benefiting by this in an extraordinary way. You can say that the root problem is capitalism here, and you're going to see in the documentary this is a discussion. That's the discussion. Not environmentally per se, but I think the environmental implications will become very obvious to you right away. But it's not so much capitalism as the issue here is free market capitalism. You may know that term, you may know neoliberalism, things like that. If you don't, not to worry, because the documentary is going to introduce it so you can get a real feel for the problem. And it is a significant problem in that capitalism is no longer, well, you would think in a democracy like ours that capitalism would, that democracy would rule, that people would use the power of the vote so that everyone were taken care of in our society. Why wouldn't they be? Everyone votes, everyone should be concerned for themselves and everyone else. Well, it's not really that way insofar as the power of this country has been transferred to a very small group of very powerful people. But in any event, it's a great documentary. It's very useful as an introduction to seeing the basic problem that we have economically in our economic system. And again, you know, I'm not suggesting that we throw out capitalism. There are plenty of examples, and if you've been in English 23, you know I keep talking about some of them, where there are democratic socialist countries. And that's not meaning anything like the communist experiments of the 20th century, like the Soviet Union or Mao's China or anything like that. It's just places like Denmark or France, you know, very democratic countries. In fact, they vote more than we do in those countries. But also, the government and the people are fully in charge of the government, the culture, and the economy. And they do not allow large corporations to infiltrate the economy the way they have in the United States. But anyhow, you can take any position that you like on this in your comment. You may be a big, you know, supporter of capitalism and stand by it, or you may see the issues with free market capitalism, and again, that's unchecked capitalism. And maybe you'll come to the conclusion that we really need to reel in what's happening here and to make some changes. This again is a win-win because it'll help us, you know, each individually, unless you happen to be one of the billionaire class. But it may also, and would also, clearly help the planet as well. So that's my little introduction. I hope you enjoy the documentary, and mostly I hope that it gives you something to think about. So, okay, take care.